Hello, my name is Larisa Gurevich, and today I am going to talk about preparing a successful poster presentation. So, you go to the conference website. Well, I guess you're already there because you are listening to me. Though the poster is an excellent self promotion tool that gets you published, for some of you, preparing a poster presentation may seem a little bit too much of a task, appear difficult, and require professional writing and professional presentation skills. Thus, you may decide it's not for you. But no, please don't be shy. It is for you. Just follow the conference poster guidelines quite closely. I will explain these guidelines in detail right now using my experience with my recent poster presentation. The website has quite detailed guidelines on how to prepare the poster presentation. Let's first break the poster process into smaller activities that are easier to grasp. It all starts with the abstract. The abstract is a short piece that will be reviewed by the conference organizers to decide if work is worth presenting. This is a sort of an agreement between you and the conference on what you are going to say. The abstract should follow the guidelines quite closely. Let's assume your abstract is ready and is in a standard format, or at least you think so. Then you have to double check yourself for plagiarism. Nowadays, there are so many ways to copy other people's work or use AI for writing, but we at the conference need to avoid and discourage those practices. Anyway, after that, the abstract is reviewed by the conference organizers. And when it is accepted for the presentation, you need to do further serious work. Right question, it's already half of an answer. Assuming that you already asked the right question in your abstract, I suggest, based on my experience, that next you break down this question into smaller pieces, possible questions that you are going to be asked, and do a comprehensive write-up of answers to those questions. Though it is not required by the conference, it is your invaluable cheat sheet and working material. Besides, having this write-up, it is quite easy to prepare a poster to present. You see, it's easy like a pie. First, the topic. How did you come up with an abstract? You need to find out what you will be talking about. It is probably one of the most difficult tasks. You need to find the question which only you know the answer. And even if you know the answer, other conference participants have to feel attracted to the same topic. So you have to ask the right question and show that you know the right answer to this question in the title of the abstract. The title is 12 words long, and the angle should be interesting for the conference. For example, I started thinking about biological functions of magnesium and then realized that this angle is not of a big interest to the conference. It's just generally interesting. On the other hand, what may be so wrong with the magnesium field that I, as a nutritionist, want to talk about? I decided to change the name to something which is more interesting for the conference, and here it is: Mighty Magnesium, Functional Testing and Emerging Research. This presentation would allow me to give some ideas from my clinical practice and also provide a review of the relevant literature. The conference website was asking about motivation, the facts that moved me into the topic. Apparently, it's understanding that the current methods for magnesium deficiency identification in the body tissues are not reliable. I could also say the magnesium status is essential, but it's not news for the Conference of Nutritional Professionals. Now we'll state the problem more precisely. I would say that outdated diagnostic testing does not always indicate subclinical deficiency in the tissues until a serious issue has already occurred. That's a problem for nutritionists to resolve. Now what I can do is describe how I approach this problem, looking into the existing academic research and summarizing it for my practice. It is my solution. And what benefit for the field the results could bring? What can I predict? I found conditions that can be exacerbated by low magnesium levels. And I hope my colleagues will appreciate this work. But also I would say in which cases magnesium supplementation can benefit or harm my clients. Those are two big outcomes which I'm going to talk about. What conclusions I can make? Of course, how these can be practically applied, more specifically in my business practice and also in an app which I created. In terms of structure, we are asked about motivation, problem statement, approaches, predictions, and conclusions. I did it. Now the format which is requested by the conference organizers. I was asked for 12 words or less title. I did it. I was asked for text which is less than 300 words. And I did it too. So at this point, I may conclude that the abstract is completed. However, there is one more important moment here. If you are using somebody else's work, you need to acknowledge that by citing properly. And also, who is the author? Let me reiterate that using artificial intelligence to write pieces of your presentation is not a good idea because, well, it's you who is presenting, not an AI bot. Thus, it will not be considered an original work. I usually check for plagiarism and AI writing using Grammarly. It's a free service, a fast check, and your conscience is calm afterwards. You know that you didn't steal and you did not circumvent any guidelines. I hope you have done good work and your poster abstract is accepted by the conference. What's next? What are you going to put in this big sheet of paper to present? In other words, what kind of information you're going to put in the poster and what information you're going to withhold in your head. The purpose of the poster presentation is to initiate conversations with your colleagues. Thus, you need to put the major results in the poster. Poster content needs to trigger conversations rather than provide full answers. I suggest starting with a detailed write-up outlining potential questions from your colleagues with answers and information you have on the topic, different angles of the problem you're going to talk about, and of course prepare references. You didn't do all that research by yourself, did you? I had to trim the list of references to about 50. By doing so, you have good material which you can present to the conference, but also to other conferences or even use as a publication. In that case, it's better to check for plagiarism again. The completed and structured write-up may be around 2,000 words plus list of references. That gives you about 15 minutes of uninterrupted talk. Of course, it's unlikely to happen, but you'll be able to answer questions really well. And also, you have a skeleton to prepare a poster. And here comes the question of poster formatting. This is the first version of mine. The first version just moved the structured material, including the references, from the write-up to the poster in a way that will encourage people to ask your questions. You need to foresee both questions and answers, but you don't need to present answers. You have to make sure that people who came here to network and talk have some food for thought. There is a very little probability that they will ask about specific references, so this is absolutely not needed here. What I did for the first version was just dump all this information from right up into this big piece of paper with minimal structuring, without thinking about how to attract my colleagues' attention and how to emphasize the most important ideas. There's no clear structured train of thought, not good enough, I would say. You see, this is too much to grasp, and most importantly, there's too many details here that scatter the attention. Unlikely conversation starter. So here comes my second version. It did trigger the right questions and emphasized the most important findings. As you see, there is no selfie. I'm standing there. I also removed lots of explanations and used white space to emphasize the most important findings. Instead of 50 references, there is a QR code. I noticed that people were taking pictures of this QR code just to look at the references in their spare time. And also, instead of information scattered on the big poster, there is a logical train of thought. That is what makes people comfortable with your piece of work. My suggestion is don't try to listen to your own voice. Try to talk to other people. Try to answer those questions they ask. Maybe it will be the beginning of a beautiful friendship, of invaluable cooperation. And after you are satisfied with the poster, it's in the required format, you may want to print this poster. I need to mention some technical details here. I used a template from the conference website, prepared everything in PowerPoint for ease of use, and exported it as PDF for printing. You may use other tools as you please, of course, but regarding the printing, there are many local printers who will be happy to do work for you. They will prepare fancy and beautiful posters laminated on silk, plastic, something else, and deliver them to the hotel. My concern is about price and transportation. The fancier, the pricier. Besides, even if you can conveniently get your poster at the conference, you'd like to transport it back home, right? If the poster is laminated, its weight is twice compared to the one done on the plain paper. So my choice was print it back home on the regular paper. I used Vistaprint, which turned out to be the cheapest, and folded it to fit the carry-on. When I arrived, I just ironed it and was ready to go. On the way home, this poster did not take the valuable space from the conference goodie bag, and the goodie bag is awesome, almost as awesome as your presentation.